Welcome back, viewers. So, we have been discussing the few very important areas which need special attention when we establish a warehouse, when we build a warehouse. We spoke of site selection. We are also discussing the layout, the internal architecture. We will also discuss a very important aspect, which is pilferage protection. And also product deterioration, that is to maintain the product in its original quality, original shape, size. So, these four areas are very critical while a warehouse is established. We have discussed site selection. We are now discussing layout. Let us go to the slide and see what layout is all about. So, the layout primarily depends upon the kind of pallets we use. So, this particular slide speaks of the standard pallet size, the packages to be placed on the pallet, the related patterns, what are the kinds of pallets that suits the operation. Depending upon the operation and the need, the management decides what kind of pallet that needs to be used in a particular warehouse. The next slide tells us the pallet positioning. So, first the kind of pallet, the size of pallet, the positioning. The basic method is a mechanized warehouse is a 90-degree or a square placement. Square placement means that the pallet is positioned perpendicular to the aisle. The square method is widely used because of the layout ease. So, we are talking of layout. In that layout, we have discussed about the size of the pallet to be used, the type of the product that needs to be placed on the pallet, the position of the pallet where it needs to be placed in the aisle, and we have seen the standard pallets, square pallets, and which are used, which are kept perpendicular to the aisle of the warehouse. In a warehouse, this is called the aisle, where the material handling machines move, or people who are responsible for picking the items, they move through the aisle and they pick up from the storage area. So, this is called the aisle. Next, we will discuss of another very important. Now, you have to remember why a warehouse is required. We have discussed about the economic and the service benefit. There is an important function of the warehouse is to ensure, is to protect the shipment from theft, from pilferage. And there are companies who invest significant amount of money to ensure that the products stored within the warehouse are kept under strong vigil, are protected from theft or any other kind of pilferage. Let us go to the slide and see what we mean by pilferage protection. As always, again, I will not read out the entire slide for you. I will point out a few very important and significant words which will explain you what we are talking about pilferage protection. Protection against theft. Such protection is required as a result of increased vulnerability of firms, civil disturbances. Pilferage may happen due to civil disturbances, riots, normal theft. A normal precautions employed throughout the enterprise should be strictly enforced We are talking of what is pilferage, why pilferage occurs, and what are the steps that needs to be taken to put an end or to stop pilferage. Security begins at the fence, that means security begins right at the entry of every warehouse, and again throughout the enterprise some standard and strict precautions are enforced to ensure that there are no pilferages. If you visit any plant or any warehouse, you would have seen, even generally in companies, you will find only employees or certain authorized representative of the company are allowed entry within a warehouse or within an enterprise within a company. It applies more in a warehouse where only authorized representative, only selected members of the staff are allowed. These staff carry access card, they carry their ID cards, and they go through a routine check as and when they enter the warehouse or exit. That is one way of ensuring that the items stored in the warehouse are protected from pilferage. Let us go to the next slide and see what are the other different steps that needs to be taken. Please refer to the slide. Without exception, no private automobiles regardless of management rank or customer status should be allowed to penetrate the yard adjacent to the warehouse. The following actual experience may be helpful. A particular firm enforced the rule that no private vehicle should be permitted in the warehouse yard. Exceptions were made for 2 handicapped office employees. So, there are warehouses, and mind you, whatever examples we are giving you is not restricted within our country. Supply chain management is a global concept. So, never ever think that whatever policies, theories, processes, systems we are discussing are applicable only in India. These are standard supply chain management, these theories are global theories, global processes, global systems. And if you go to developed countries, you will find such practices systems being applied more and more efficiently and more systematically. So, what we are saying over here are entry of any private vehicles, whether it belongs to management, whether it belongs to a vendor, are not allowed within a certain distance from the warehouse. They are kept away. They are not even allowed to park their vehicles within a certain distance within the warehouse. Companies do make exceptions for physically challenged or specially abled people who are allowed some access within the warehouse, but rest of them are strictly not allowed to get their vehicle inside. Everybody is expected to park their vehicles outside. So, personnel with identification, no vehicles allowed inside, to be allowed inside. So, these are few of the precautions or the protections methods or measures taken by warehouses to control pilferage. The next slide will tell us more about what all other steps are taken to avoid pilferage. So, this actually gives an example where it is a case study sort of. One of the employees accidentally discovered a bundle taped under one fender of his car. Checking revealed that the car was literally a delivery truck. The packages taped to the car and to continue packing inside the yard. Over the next day, the situation uncovered with the ultimate arrest and conviction of several warehouse employees. So, this gives an instance which actually happened, where a vehicle, a private vehicle belonging to a company was used to move shipments out of the warehouse. So, this incidence is the reason for which vehicles are not allowed within a particular area of the warehouse. The firm would have been better off purchasing a small vehicle, provide transportation. Many are honest mistakes in order to selection shipment, but the purpose of security is to restrict theft from all angles. The majority of the thefts occur during normal working hours. So, what happens since employees are not allowed, individuals are not allowed, or suppliers are not allowed to move their vehicle or take their vehicle inside the vicinity or close to the warehouse. So, many companies, they provide vehicles for the employees to move out of where they are working, that is the warehouse or the plant or the distribution center, outside the premises, to ensure security, to ensure that no employees are using their private vehicles to pilfer out any items that are stored in a distribution center or a warehouse. Computer inventory control. No item should be released from the warehouse unless accompanied by computer release documents. Samples are authorized for use by salesperson. So, these are again different steps. Computerized inventory control would mean usage or avoiding manual handling of items within the warehouse. Inventory management is extremely important for any company, but when you automate the system, when you use a computerized method, it means you are using lesser and lesser number of people or labor to do inventory management for you. That reduces the risk of pilferage. No item should be released from the warehouse if at all some item needs to be picked for whatever reasons it may be, maybe as a sample, in case it is required to be delivered to a customer, in case a component is required at the production plant, whatever the reasons it may be. A shipment or a product or a component or any item from a warehouse is allowed to be moved out of the warehouse only if it accompanies a proper authorization, authorized by the management, by the relevant authority, that particular shipment or item can be moved out of the warehouse. Otherwise, no shipments are allowed to move. So, these are basically some standard methods, some standard procedures that most enterprises companies follow in order to ensure that there are no pilferages, no thefts, no unauthorized movement of shipments or shipments being moved out of the warehouse. Not all pilferages occur on an individual basis. Numerous instances have been discovered where there are organization efforts between warehouse and truck drivers, employee rotation, total case counts, occasional complete can reduce. So, if you see, pilferages is not result of one individual. It is not the activity, it is not always the activity of one particular individual. It may be a concerted or a orchestrated effort or a combined effort of many individuals in a warehouse. Many individuals may combine, they may form a team from a group. A team may be, a part of the team may be from the employees of the company, some of them may be representatives of a particular vendor, of a transport company, of a maintenance company. So, there are different groups that work in a warehouse. Apart from the company's own personnel, there are other people, the service providers, the maintenance people, the transporters, the logistics service provider, the material handlers. There are so many people that works within a warehouse. So, one particular individual may not cause a significant damage, they may not cause a significant theft, but a group of people put together, they may form a group, and it has been observed number of times that most of the thefts that has happened has been done by a group of people who are a part of the different groups that work within an organization. So, if we go back to the slide once again, product substitution. So, employee rotation, total case count, occasional complete line item check. So, what do? We ensure that the employees, similar employees, the same employees do not work together at the same time. So, we rotate the employees. So, that actually breaks the possibility, stops the possibility of forming a group. There has to be a systematic and a very routine case count. When I say case count, cases containing the items in a warehouse, the cases which are stacked on a pallet or placed inside a container or placed inside a rack. So, employee rotation, case count, that reduces the possibility of pilferage in a warehouse. So, these are the steps. Only authorized employees, no private vehicles near the warehouse, occasional case counts, proper documentation, movement of shipment only through proper authorization, changing the shift of the laborers or the employees, doing a routine check. So, these are all the steps which will ensure reduction of pilferage in a warehouse. While pilferage protection is an important area or a factor or a function of a warehouse, the reason why items are kept in a warehouse has been discussed already, the benefits, but it is also to protect the item from natural calamity as well as theft. So, a warehouse has different functions, it offers different benefits, not only restricted to the economic or the service benefits we have discussed. Another very important function or the benefit that we get out of a warehouse, that a proper maintenance of shipments within the warehouse ensure that the products or the items that are stored in a warehouse maintain the same quality throughout the period that it is kept within the warehouse. Otherwise, it will cause product deterioration, and that may happen for different reasons. If you do not ensure proper maintenance of the warehouse, if we do not ensure the infrastructure of the warehouse are properly maintained, you have to ensure that the products that are moved within the warehouse are moved properly, are moved by trained people only, are moved by machineries which are in right shape, machines that move products are not overloaded, people who are carrying the products, if there is manual movement of shipment within the warehouse, we ensure that people are trained to move shipment within the warehouse. A person is not sick, a person is not under the control of drugs or alcohol. So, there are different reasons why a product that's stored in a warehouse, non-maintenance of the warehouse, non-compatibility of the product stored in the same facility. You cannot store two products which are not compatible to each other. That means, a particular product may cause damage to the other product. They are not compatible to each other, right. Let us go to the next slide. What other things cause product deterioration? Improper warehouse work procedure, carelessness of warehouse employees, forklift truck, improper usage of forklift truck, attempt to use shortcuts when such forklift trucks are used. More often than none, in order to save work time, these forklift trucks are overloaded, and in the process shipments fall out and thus causing damage to the shipment. So, if you see improper warehouse work procedure, the procedures are wrong, individual carelessness of people and the supervisors, improper use of the forklift trucks. So, in one situation, so here we give an example how in a particular situation a stack of 4 pallets was dropped off a forklift truck at the receiving dock of a food warehouse. Standard procedure was to move 2 pallets. The value of the damaged material exceeded the average daily profit of 2 supermarkets. So, rather than moving 2 pallets, that particular forklift truck was moving 4 pallets, and in the process all the 4 pallets containing food materials fell, and the entire merchandise that was damaged exceeded the average daily profit of 2 supermarkets. So, students, can you understand what is the extent of damage that an improper handling of forklift trucks or any material handling equipment can do? With this, we come to the end of warehouse management. It is a very, very important area in the entire supply chain process, and you have to remember in the last section the 4 most important criteria that needs to be given attention to is the site selection, which should determine the most important factors, cost and the service availability of a particular site, the layout, the internal architecture, the internal design of the warehouse, the kind of process or the kind of system made available in the warehouse to ensure that the products are safe. They are safe from any kind of pilferage and theft. And last but not the least, the basic purpose, the one very important purpose of storing shipment or goods in a warehouse is to ensure that the shipment remains intact in terms of its quality, in terms of its numbers, quantity remains intact, is proper handling of the shipments and proper maintenance of the warehouse, proper maintenance of the forklift trucks, proper maintenance of the material handling equipments, to train people who are involved in handling shipment within the warehouse. So, all this thing ensures that we can reduce or avoid product deterioration. With this, we come to the end of warehousing. When we meet in the next class on Tuesday, we are going to discuss, we said there are few topics which go hand in hand: warehouse management, inventory management, and packing and material handling. So, in the next class, students, we are going to discuss packing and material handling. This will be our topic in the next session. It may not be on Tuesday exactly. In the due course of time, I am going to inform you when will be a next class or next session on logistics and supply chain management. Till such time, I wish you a very good weekend. Thank you very much.